Again, my name is Jessica Campbell, and I'm a social worker here at Jett Foundation. The goal for this webinar is to provide you all with the information and tools that you'll need to be able to confidently apply for the 2026 Accessible Vehicle Fund program. And I can't believe that 2025 has flown by and we're already discussing 2026. We do have a presentation prepared to go through the steps and share all of this information with you. We do ask that all questions are saved for the end of the presentation. If you have any during the webinar, please drop them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen.
We just ask that all questions, you can definitely type them into that Q&A box as we go, but there may be questions that we get to during the presentation that you already have, which is why we'll wait until the end to answer all of them.
Yes. And now that mostly everyone is logged on, we'll go ahead and get started. You already know who I am, Jessica Campbell, social worker. We also have Julie LeClaire, community program coordinator, and Alexa Tinsley, director of programs. Julie and I are your main contacts for the Accessible Vehicle Fund application process and program, and Alexa's here for support as needed. Here's a quick glimpse of all of our other team members who you may hear from when connecting with Jett Foundation. And we're all here to help you at every step of your journey.
You may not necessarily hear about them as you're going through the application process, but we just want you to know who everybody is. That way we make sure that you know who they are in case you need them at any point in the future, not just for our Accessible Vehicle Fund program. Oh, this is my flag. So if you don't already know about Jett Foundation, our mission is to empower individuals and families that are impacted by Duchenne muscular dystrophy through the development of transformative programming, educational opportunities, and ongoing support for every stage of the Duchenne journey. And one of those ways that we do that is through our Accessible Vehicle Fund program. So for those of you also that don't know, this program was started in 2017 when our founder, Christine McSherry, found out that the need in this community for an accessible vehicle is great. We all know that this is a need and not a want for all of our families. But she went on GoFundMe and she saw a plethora of GoFundMe specifically for accessible vans. So that is where this program was born out of. And as you can see, we have helped nationwide and continue to help nationwide. We have given more than $6 million in just accessible vehicles since 2017. We also do have two other arms of our Jett Giving Fund, but this one's a big one. And that's the one we're talking about today.
Okay, so for all of you newcomers out there, might not look any different to you, but anybody that's applied to in the past, we have changed our timeline a little bit. So we are opening this year in October and closing November 21st. Notifications will be sent December 19th and fundraising begins mid-January. So in the past, it was a little into late January, beginning of February, but now we're starting at the beginning of the year to give families the most amount of time to fundraise before the end of the year.
And there's also another piece to this, Julie, that I want Jessica to touch on, because when it comes to acceptances, this is also the December time period is a good time to talk to families and businesses about fundraising if you're accepted into the program, as some of the companies will allocate dollars in the very beginning of the year. So that was another reason we moved up the timeline so that these conversations can happen during those holiday seasons where you're connecting with people and connecting with family and all of those other things.
Yes, good point. But yes, so this is a once a year application. So it's only open from this October to November. You can only apply once a year. And once you are accepted, it is a once in a lifetime thing that you can apply for. And then once applications are reviewed, they're reviewed by a non-biased committee. So that is Jett staff, board, and then board members and community members that'll look over these applications. So we'll go through them, we'll blind all the applications to make sure all the personal identifiers are blocked out. And then once the approvals come out, they'll be granted a certain amount of money that will go to our, that is based on current economic conditions. So our Jett leadership team will award that amount. And then we also want to note that when you are looking for your 2 quotes, if your quote does come in higher than the amount that you are awarded, then you'll have to, we will have to change that number to reflect the additional funds that are required for your family. So in November and December, we have the committee review all the applications. And then once December 19th comes, we'll send notifications to everybody. And if for any reason that is delayed, we'll send an email that'll tell you so. But we usually have them out December 19th by 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you'll hear from us whether you're accepted or not. And then once again, that we only accept completed applications. So that has the 2 quotes, all the information we need. And then we'll talk about that a little later on as well. Okay, and then the earliest we will, a family will receive their vehicle is the second quarter of 2026. The timing of the vehicle also depends on the individual fundraising and their completion. So that depends how quickly they fundraise and then how quickly we work out the logistics on our end as well with the vendor.
Yeah, and just noting there that, sometimes when we're looking at vehicles, we have an ideal vehicle in mind. Maybe we have our own personal goal. That's not always going to be that guaranteed vehicle that we receive or that we fundraise for. You can run into inventory issues, vendor issues, availability, cost of vehicles can shift drastically throughout a year. So those are just things to be mindful of throughout the process should you be accepted into that program.
Yes, and then we would also like to see families done fundraising by mid-October. That way it gives us time to search for the vehicle, get it converted if it needs to be converted, and figure out all the parts, along with the celebration that we want to have before the end of the year. The application process must be done online. So as you see in front of you, that's the website or the link that will be that you'll go to, and then you'll see the registration button that you will click on once that is live on October 1st. We want to note that there is no paper versions for this application and must all be done online on this version. And then you can save and resume at a later time. So when you are filling out the application, you can scroll to the bottom and it will say save and resume. You put in your email address and a link will be sent to your email that you can pick up on at a later time. So if you're missing any quotes or anything's happening, you can save it and then resume it later.
And fun fact of the day, that link is actually incorrect. So I'm going to put the correct one in the chat.
Perfect. Once again, no paper copies. And then I also want to note that if your application is incomplete, like I mentioned earlier, it will not be considered, but we will let you know if there is anything missing prior to the deadline date. So if you do send it in, we'll send an email, hey, you're missing this, and then you do have time to get it back into us. And we also want to note that please be aware, we will ask whether you have applied for any other vehicle funding. So towards the end of the application, it asks you about waivers and grants or any other assistance that you might have talked about or received from other organizations. You may submit for other funding either before or after applying for a program, but however the application process, you must provide the details of where you applied, you plan to apply, and the amount you've been awarded or have requested. So this is a huge piece. So we want you guys to go out, look for waivers and all that beforehand so that you have like the idea and you reach out to try to get those applications to other organizations as well.
And I will say also that if for any reason you are not accepted into our program, this is also helpful for you as you try to find funding for a vehicle. If for some reason you're not accepted into our program and need a vehicle more immediately.
Mm-hmm. And we also want to say that existing funding in place does not guarantee acceptance into our program. But it's great to have. It's not going to say you're a shoo-in, but it definitely does help.
All right. We will overview the minimum eligibility requirements. Please make sure as you go through this application that you're able to check off these items before you start the process. It'll make your life a little easier. And note that if one or more of these items are left incomplete, unfortunately, we will not be able to accept that application. But as Julie mentioned, If you submit it and we're missing something, we are going to shoot you an email and let you know what's missing, and give you that opportunity to submit that to us before the deadline. Some of the eligibility requirements are you must be a citizen of the United States and reside in the continental US. You must provide a letter from a physician verifying the Duchenne diagnosis. We are no longer able to accept genetic testing reports. Each family must commit to fundraising half or more of the cost of the vehicle. In the application, strongly encouraged and must demonstrate the need, um, to show the need. We all know it's, as Alexa mentioned earlier, it's a need, not a want, but share the need, the financial, the mobility, what that current day-to-day life looks like, the condition of your current vehicle, and so on. So
I'm gonna just jump in real quick.
yeah.
First thing for the letter confirming diagnosis, this is something that you can, even a note in your EMR that says this person is being treated for Duchenne muscular dystrophy. The genetic testing actually doesn't show whether it is Duchenne or Becker, which is why we can no longer accept those as a confirmation of diagnosis. And then in terms of need, like Jessica said, we all need it, but this program is competitive. So
Mhm.
we do, like Julie also said, it is reviewed by non-biased parties. It is blinded. We do truly try to base this program off of need. Everybody needs it, but there are some who are in more need than others.
Absolutely. So when you're going through that process and you're applying, you're completing that application, please share in detail what that looks like and how an accessible vehicle will improve your quality of life for your family. Um, get very descriptive. Don't hold back, be vulnerable. Um, Beyond that, you'll also provide two different quotes of accessible vehicles that suit your family's needs. This must be from at least two different vendors. If you're getting a quote on a used vehicle, you want to make sure that that quote's coming from a certified vendor. A certified vendor is going to show that they've put their vehicles through a multi-point inspection. And also note that used vehicles must also be less than 3 years old. So we're looking at no earlier than 2023 and have less than 36,000 miles on them. Ideally less. We want this vehicle to last as long as possible for you. Um, Another thing to note, we're not able to accept screenshots as quotes. So the quotes must have your family name on it and be in that PDF format, that has the itemized information capturing the full cost of the vehicle. So in the past, we've received screenshots where somebody's gone onto the website, found an accessible vehicle, took a little screenshot of it, shows that a van's 36, I don't know, whatever number. We're not able to accept that. It has to be itemized and have your name on it as a formal quote. Um, and then we also have additional tools that can help you find the right type of accessible vehicle to meet your needs, and we'll drop that link in the chat.
And then you see a bullet point on here that we should have removed, must have exhausted all options for insurance, including appeals. This really is not um, uh, applicable at this point in time, as vehicles are not a piece of insurance. So please just disregard that bullet if you're reading it and are confused about it, because it is confusing because it doesn't apply. So
Yes. Um, and acknowledging the fact that it can be, difficult to, reach out and obtain a quote, and then you have a salesperson calling you, all that. These quotes help to give us an idea of what you're looking for in a vehicle, and also gives us an idea of the cost of vehicles in your area. And while these quotes very likely will not be used, if you're accepted into the program, because again, that inventory and availability of vehicles changes on a daily basis. Should you be accepted into the program and you're getting close to the end of your fundraising process, we'll work with you to secure the van that meets the needs of your family with the available inventory at that time. So if you have any questions on what may qualify as an accessible vehicle, please don't hesitate to use that link or reach out with any questions. And just to note that the Accessible Vehicle Fund is for accessible vehicles only. At this time, unfortunately, we cannot assist with vehicle loan payments, modifications to an already purchased vehicle, or a down payment to a vehicle. If you're looking for emergency funding or medical equipment assistance, you can also go to the website and learn more about how to apply for those, and we'll drop those links in the chat as well. Okay. After families are accepted in the program, there are a few expectations for you as a participant. And some of these come with deadlines and dates. We connect quite a bit with each other throughout the year. So you'll be asked to send a bio for your fundraising page within the first week after you're accepted. And this was part of shifting the application dates back, is so that we can really get you into fundraising as quickly as possible. You can get your link and you can share your story. Participants are also required to attend bi-weekly check-ins and maintain communication with the team. This helps us to see how you're doing and also helps us to share your story during and after the participation process. This communication, it's important for us to continue to help you throughout the process and get you in a van by the end of the year. So we do ask that families that are accepted into the program respond to all Jett staff in a timely fashion, because you do speak with not only us, but the marketing team, several others throughout the process. And I'll pass it back to you, Julie.
Awesome. So in considering applying, please know we have a few guidelines in place for your fundraising. So they help us streamline donations and ensure all donors are properly recorded and thanked throughout the fundraising process. So if you are accepted into the program, we will build a fundraising page for you that will be hosted on our main website. So like Alexa and Jess said, so you'll work with our marketing team. They'll ask you about your story, and that's how we're building your fundraising page on the website that you'll use for fundraising. But all funds must be raised through that fundraising platform. And this allows us to make sure that the donations are tax deductible and that anybody that donated received the tax letters from us. And then all funds that you raise must be submitted through the Jett Foundation fundraising page. Once again, that is very important, or it is sent into the Jett Foundation office. So this could be any checks that you may have separately from the fundraising platform. Awesome. So now we're at the end of our presentation. So over the next few months, email is the best way to communicate with us. So this email address right here, please reach out to that one. And then for any questions you have regarding the program or application, anybody on our team will be there to help. This is our best way of communication. So if you do email this, we'll respond to you within 48 hours, 2 days. 48 hours, but then please refrain from calling, just because this is the quicker way for us to get back to you about any questions. Yeah, with that said, I'll open the floor for any questions that you may have. If you want to drop them into the Q&A box below, that would be great. And then one of us will answer your questions. And thank you
If
so
for
much.
any reason you can't figure out the Q&A box, just put it in the chat and we will figure it out. The Q&A box is just easier.
Yep.
As we wait on some of those questions, just want to circle back to the fundraising piece. I think it's important, to think about what fundraising looks like to you before you complete the application. It goes beyond sharing it on social media. It's really getting out of your comfort zone. It's connecting to your community, reaching out to your community, reaching out to friends, family, neighbors, strangers, and getting folks involved in the process. Just, thinking outside the box.
Mhm. And I want to mention too that we have a ton of resources, like Jess mentioned before, the links that we have, but also accepted families. We will reach out to past families as well, and we'll put you on a fundraising call for what they did that worked, what didn't work, for you to get information from the families themselves that have been in the process. So that's extremely helpful as well.
Yeah, we're not here to like leave you out on your own. So we are here to help you every step of the way should you be accepted into this program. Even if you aren't accepted into this program, we are here to help in any way that we can. I do see a question about being able to request a rear entry ban, and I think that's a really good point because we do ask for what the preference is, and in terms of side entry and rear entry, what works best for your family. But what I do also want to mention is that rear entry and side entry, we can typically I don't even know. We can typically accommodate those requests, but there is no guarantee of a make, model, or color. You can submit a preference, but it is not guaranteed. And then this webinar is recorded. So if you missed any of it, we will have this on our YouTube and on our Facebook at a later time for you to go ahead and review. The application will be available again on October 1st on our website at jettfoundation.org. And if you go to Jett Giving Fund, you'll be able to find the Accessible Vehicle Fund and more information on how to apply there on October 1st. The presentation will not be sent directly to you. However, again, this will be what am I saying? My brain's not working today. The presentation will be recorded for you to watch later on.
Yep. And I want to bring up something Alexa said too, that when you are looking for quotes, like she said, what works best for your family, side or rear entry. Think about like if you're in the country or the city, if you have to parallel park, how your driveway is, if you can't use a side entry, or if you want to park in the garage, you prefer the rear entry. Like those things that you want to start thinking about ahead of time. And also measuring the width of the door to make sure that the wheelchair can fit in. All those things are really important when going into finding your quotes. So when the time comes, you know exactly what your family needs.
And if you have the ability to, again, if you have the ability to, it's ideal to actually take the chair and see what it fits best in as far as rear to side entry, following up on that other question.
And then one of my favorite questions. If you are not able to fundraise your full 50% or more, like Jessica said, as you are going to apply for this program, please know that it is a fundraising program. We are not about kicking people out of our program, but the funds do need to be raised in order for you to get the vehicle. Jessica, was that put okay? Should I add anything else?
No, I mean, I think that's going into the program, you are required to fundraise half or more of the cost of the vehicle. In that rare case that somebody goes beyond the extended time, that's one less person that enters the program the following year. So to be mindful of that when you go into this, knowing that there's an extreme amount of effort that's required, the fundraising. You have support, but we're not able to do the fundraising for you. We can share all of the suggestions and ideas, but to know that that is falling into your responsibility.
Again, we are here to help every step of the way,
Yes.
but we cannot do it for you. And I'm not saying that's what you're saying. I'm just saying, as everybody is looking into this program, knowing that there is a significant amount of time and effort put into this program, we are, we are putting forward a huge chunk of those funds, but it is an undertaking. This program is not only for vans. We have gifted other vehicles, accessible vehicles as well. We just have to make sure that it is within the award amount and that it will work for your family's needs. And then Julie, do you want to take this last question?
Yes. So applications do open up October 1st, and then they will close on November 21st, and we will be awarding individuals on December 19th by 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
I'm going to say at 5 p.m. just because I know people are so anxious to hear from us. And so I don't want you to feel that if you haven't heard by like 4:50 that you haven't been accepted into this program, or otherwise, but we will send all notifications at 5 p.m. on December 19th.
Mhm.
The number of families that get chosen is dependent on our budget for 2026. I don't have that number at this time or yet, but we typically accept anywhere between 10 and 15 families into this program each year.
Mm.
We'll give it another minute. And we know that like this people take time to process information differently. So if you do have any questions after you've sat down and been able to process the information that we provided to you today, please go ahead and reach out to this email, jettgivingfund@jettfoundation.org, and we will be happy to answer any questions that you have. And I'm just going to check the chat to see if anything is in there. Oh, another one came through. Jessica, I'll let you take this one.
Absolutely. Please share. If you're accepted into this program, you want to share your story everywhere. You want to call your local news media outlets. You want to share social media. We've had families get on Instagram and TikTok and everywhere and message, celebrities and share their stories. We had a family this year that was connected to a fairly well-known farming family in the TikTok space, and they helped to share their story and they were one of the first ones in a van this year. So yes, you want to share that story with as many people as you can. And this is a fundraising process. This entire accessible vehicle process will push you outside your comfort zone and will put you in a very vulnerable space, but you're raising awareness, you're sharing your story, and you're getting to that need, which is that accessible van to better your quality of life.
And it's actually a question that you'll see on the application about social media and if it's used, because it is such a good way to share your story, and you never know who's watching and who's, seeing that story, who might be willing to help. If you don't have any help from family or friends, that is something that you'll have to consider when applying to this program. Like I said, we are here with you every step of the way to give you ideas, to support you, to really try to share as much as possible in this journey. But again, it is a huge lift on you and your family. So you have to make that decision when you're applying. For like when you're putting your application together and if you choose to move forward with that. Yes, 2 wheelchairs and 1 van, but what I will say about this, and this is actually a good point, is that requires a transit vehicle, which will be more expensive. So the fundraising need will be higher. Transit vehicles are the only vehicle that can transport 2 or more wheelchairs. We have had 3 wheelchairs in an accessible transit. So yes, it is possible, but I do want to note that it is a more pricey vehicle.
Mhm.
When can fundraising begin? That's a great question. So I know everybody wants to start right now, and I feel you. So one of the reasons, like we said, that we moved up this timeline is try to get fundraising off the ground in mid-January, if accepted into this program. you are welcome to fundraise prior to that. But what I will say about that is people have done that in the past, and things like GoFundMe will take a percentage and they are also not tax deductible. So we encourage you to wait until you hear an acceptance or a denial for fundraising to begin for this program, because A, it's not guaranteed that you'll be accepted, but B, if you are accepted, all tax or all donations are tax deductible to those that donate.
Also, to add
Yeah.
to that, you want to be mindful of any fundraising you may be doing beforehand, before you know if you're accepted or not. The goal of us providing that link also for those tax deductible donations, if I can find my words at the end of the day, um, is to prevent you from running into any barriers or issues that may come up with Medicaid, Social Security. Even if you have that GoFundMe, right? When it comes time to pull that money out and transfer it over, there's a possibility that that has to transfer to your bank account and then be pulled out, which could raise flags in an audit on your end. So that's something just to keep in the back of your mind and to be mindful of as you think about fundraising beforehand or any time in the future.
Mhm.
Even if
And
it's
then
not for this program, something just to think about as you're raising funds for things like home modifications and medical needs and all of those things. That's something to think about regardless of this program.
And then I want to note that it officially begins if you are accepted once the website link is up. So we want you to respond in a timely manner to marketing. They will meet with you to get your family story, like we said before. And then once that story is created, your fundraising link is up, we will send them to you. And then that's when you can begin officially on your page.
And then Jessica, I'll let you take this question.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not accepted, what would we suggest on how to get a newer type van? Honestly, it's going to be, we can share resources with you afterwards if you want to reach out, share some links and websites that you may be able to fundraise on without being directly affected through Social Security, Medicaid, things like that. So please reach out if you're not accepted.
And then we'll also give links to other organizations that might be able to
Absolutely.
help as well, um, at least with some of the funding toward a newer vehicle.
If
Rebecca, can you rephrase that question, or Jessica, do you understand what she's asking?
if Rebecca, if you're asking that your current van is not in the best condition, I would be as descriptive as possible in your application. If that's not what you're asking, feel free to rephrase that and ask that again.
And that is a question on the application as well, whether you have an accessible vehicle or not already, if you have one that is repairable or not repairable. So those questions will be asked because we do a lot of input into this application to try to capture as much need as possible. I'm sure there are more things that we could put in it, but we don't want to get too crazy. But we do try to think about those things. So those questions will be asked on the application. All right. Well, it seems like we have answered at least all of the questions at this point in time. So I will go ahead and hand it off to Jessica.
All right. Well, we thank everyone for joining us this evening. Again, if any questions come up between now and October 1st when the application opens, or even after that, before the deadline, please do not hesitate to reach out at the email that's shown here. Be sure to utilize those links that are in the chat. And just know that we are all here to support you in the best way possible. I wish you all a fantabulous rest of your day.
Bye, guys.